Hi, and welcome to the Holly C Podcast, a show about expressing your brilliance with ease and flow. I'll show you how to take the woo-woo out of the clouds and apply it to real life for effortless action. This show is for world changers and future world changers, so if you know there's more to life and you're wondering what's next, this is your show. Hi, I'm Holly, your host. I'm a speaker, author, teacher of health, vitality, and spirituality, and also a dragon spirit guide. In today's episode, we are going to talk about the voice of the universe. How do you hear the universe? How does it speak to you? This is a question that a lot of people ask me, so if you want to get downloads from the universe, you want to hear what the universe has to share with you, you want to get guidance on what direction to go in, you want to know if you're doing the right thing, or if you need help in times of struggle, the universe is there for you, but you've got to know what you're listening for. So this episode is going to be about the voice of the universe. What does it sound like? So I'm going to share a story with you. The time when I first heard the universe speaking to me. And I'm going to say first in quotes here. And you'll know why at the end of this episode, why I say first in quotes. When I was 25 years old, I was in a car accident. My family was heading to my grandparents' wedding anniversary. At the time, my family had a Honda Civic hatchback. This was back in the 90s, and it was a pretty tiny car. And I remember when I was getting into the car, my sister got in first, and then I was going to get into the back seat. And right in the middle of the back seat was this thing that we referred to as the hump. So right where your feet went, there was this big hump, and it was kind of cramped and uncomfortable in the middle seat. And my sister said to me, "Do you want to switch?" And I said, "Sure." So we changed seats. That one decision completely changed the trajectory of my life. So we pulled out of the driveway, drove down the street, and we were not even 5 minutes away from our house, turning from the neighborhood onto the busy intersection. This was during rush hour. And I remember looking out the window. So I'm sitting in the rear of the car behind the driver, my father, and I'm looking out this tiny little window of the hatchback. And I see a car drive past the street, hit its brakes, put on its reverse lights, and start reversing down this main thoroughfare during rush hour. So I assume the driver realized he missed his turn and thought it was a good idea to stop the car and put it in reverse to get back into the intersection. Of course, with so much traffic, I saw another vehicle heading towards the car that was reversing. This driver was turning right. And of course, this guy wasn't paying attention either. He didn't notice the car reversing straight at him. Now, the guy who was turning right was driving a Mercedes-Benz, and back in the 90s, these cars were massively huge. And this is also significant because what happened was the car that was reversing collided into the Mercedes-Benz, and so the Mercedes, as it was turning right, the collision caused it to veer off course. The driver lost control of the vehicle, and I knew it because I was looking out the window, seeing the whites of his eyes because his Mercedes-Benz was heading straight for our car. We got sideswiped. I was told later that the impact actually pushed our car several feet. The brunt of the impact was taken by the rear end of our car, where I was sitting. And I remember what happened was the car hit us, my whole body swung to the right, smacked into my sister's head, and then my head whipped back the other way and smacked into the window of the car. It was a shock. There was a lot of adrenaline running through me. It took a while before emergency personnel arrived on the scene. Maybe it wasn't that long, but to me it felt like it took forever. I was taken by ambulance to the hospital and left on a stretcher. Waited what seemed like forever before a doctor finally saw me. And he basically told me that I had whiplash, a soft tissue injury, and that I could take some aspirin if I was in pain. And that was pretty much it. Before the accident, I was 2 weeks away from grading for my blue belt in karate. And in the style of karate I was learning, blue belt was just below brown belt, which was just below black belt. But after the accident, I was in a lot of pain, chronic pain, that went from the base of my skull down through my neck, my shoulders, all the way down my back. Looking back, unintended pun there, looking back, I now see the accident as a pivot point for changing the direction of my life. Because before the accident, I really knew nothing about holistic health. And it was because Western medicine failed me. There was no solutions presented. That's when I began to look into alternative medicine for answers. But that's not what this podcast episode is about. It's about when I, quote-unquote, first heard the universe. So before the accident, I was very physically active. Into karate, into biking. My boyfriend at the time and we had discussed doing a cross-Canada bicycle trip. But after the accident, I was in so much pain, I could hardly ride a bike. And I was pretty grumpy and irritable too, because I was in a lot of pain. The thing was that some days I would be fine, and then the smallest thing would trigger what I called an pain episode, like lifting a bag of 3 pears, or reaching for a towel, and then I'd be in excruciating pain for a few days. Eventually it would subside, but I would always be on edge, like walking on eggshells, wondering when the next pain episode would occur. Eventually, after several months, my boyfriend, Dan, he asked me, "Are we still going to do the cross-Canada bicycle trip? Like, I know you're injured right now, but do you think this is something that we might do in the future?" And the word no was right on the tip of my tongue. There's no way I could ride a bicycle across Canada. But before I said no, the universe spoke to me. A voice, very loud and clear, in my head said, "If you say no, this accident is going to define you for the rest of your life." So instead of saying no, I said, "Maybe we can try. And worst case, if I can't continue riding, we can pack up the bikes and take the bus home." And so that was the decision. And eventually we did ride our bicycles across Canada. And during that entire trip, I never had a single pain episode. In fact, the first one I experienced occurred just a few days after completing the bicycle trip. I should have stayed riding my bike. Now, the point, though, I want to make with this story is that sometimes the universe speaks to you in a loud, clear voice. That voice that you hear in your head, like the one that said to me, "Holly, if you say no, this accident is going to define you for the rest of your life." But that actually wasn't the first time the universe spoke to me. You see, our minds think that the way the universe speaks to us is this big, loud voice. Like we look up at the sky, the clouds part, and then a rainbow shines down on us. That's not how the universe usually speaks to us. Looking back, I can see that there were many times the universe was nudging me in a certain direction, particularly about my career. I was working in a job that was a compromise. It wasn't what I wanted to do, but I thought I would put in my time, and then after a few years, I would do what I wanted to do. That's how my mind worked. That I couldn't do what I wanted to do I had to do something that I didn't like for 5 years before I could do something I wanted to do. That was my perspective. And even back then, I was fascinated with the idea of souls, soul guidance, following your soul's calling, the universe speaking to us. But of course, I didn't think I could hear it, or that it was actually speaking to me. But if I look back, I can see all the small signs of when the universe was speaking to me. You see, the universe doesn't speak to you in a big, loud voice unless you're at a point of crisis. The rest of the time, it guides you with very subtle whispers. It's like when you're pulled in a certain direction. You don't really know why, but you're attracted to something, or you're attracted to someone. That is the universe nudging you along. So it's not necessarily speaking in words. It may show you signs through coincidences, through being at a bookstore and randomly picking up a book, just having a feeling, a hunch to make a change in your routine. And that leads to a very serendipitous meeting. That's how the universe speaks to you. So if you want to hear the universe, don't go looking for the sky to part and the sunbeam to shine down on you and say, hey, this is the way. Look for the small signs. Look for the whispers. Quiet your mind and listen, because whatever is coming to mind right now, one of those things that you've always wanted to do, that's the universe speaking to you right now. And if you feel you need more guidance on hearing the universe, I have lots of podcast episodes to help you do that. You'll find all of them on my website at www.hollyc.com. So that's HOLLYTSE.com. And you can also sign up for my Dragon Spirit Weekly Wisdom newsletter on my website. So at the beginning of each week, I tune into the universe, I listen, and I share a message with you that the universe wants me to pass along. So I've gotten to the point where I'm really good at actually hearing words from the universe now. It has taken a lot of practice, but it's not difficult to do. You just have to get started. Start practicing, start listening. So check out my website, sign up for the weekly wisdom newsletter. So I look forward to reconnecting with you again. Have an amazing week. Bye for now.